Hello, good evening. And tonight on Joynews Prime, government announces plans to embark on a rigorous demolition of unauthorized structures across the country. And the move, the lands minister says, is to safeguard government lands.
Once again, ladies and gentlemen, warning all such persons to desist from this practice. Failure to do so will result not only in demolition of structures, but also prosecution of offenders.
In education, Technical University Teachers Association of Ghana describes the National Labour Commission's ruling directing them to call off their indefinite strike immediately as unfortunate, as it serves notice it's unable to comply with the ruling.
So now we are going into a meeting with my other local chairman. Though we are not pleased with the ruling, we haven't gotten copies of the ruling yet.
In other stories, despite challenges with registration of Ghanaians for the Ghana card, the president, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, says the mass registration exercise will end in March with over 6 million Ghanaians captured so far.
And as of Wednesday, 8th January 2020, some 6.5 million Ghanaians have been registered.
Reward is indeed needed, and the multimedia group kickstarts year-long activities to mark 25 years of excellent broadcasting with mega prayer and Thanksgiving feast. And I tell you, we have to do business as well. And of course, Sandra is here. Sandra.
Yeah, as more companies protest against unfair practices, we want to see the impact of that on Ghana's economy.
Far lower than our price, which means that any businessman who, as I showed you, he's getting our price, why would he buy from us? And they're killing us. Yeah, so we have to complain.
As part of our build-up, the airing of our latest Hotline documentary, Cervix in Crisis, we also share the story of a 70-year-old woman bleeding to death due to the disease.
I was told even after menopause, at times you could still bleed.
Make sure you stay tuned. I'm Roland Walker. Now, Joynews Prime also comes to you live from our studio right here at Kokomemle in Accra, with digital address GA0992539. We also could be watched on DSTV through the channel 421 and GoTV channel 144. Thank you for joining us. In our first story, the National Labour Commission is directing the Technical University Teachers Association of Ghana to immediately call off their strike and return to work. But there are fears the ruling will be defied for now by TUTAC and the Technical University Senior Administrators Association. President of the Technical University Teachers, Dr. Solomon Kilson, says the decision to end the strike will have to be decided by Congress. While President of TUSAC, Edem Honu, says there will have also to be some consultations with the National Executive Committee of the group in order to make a decision. He has been speaking with my colleague, Maxwell Agbagba.
We had a successful meeting with the NLC. A ruling was given to us as members of TUSAC. The deadlines were given. Even though we are not pleased with the ruling, we haven't gotten copies of the ruling yet, and so we await ruling of the when we get copies to the ruling, and then we take further decisions on it. As at now, we are going into a meeting with my other local chairman, and then we discuss further issues that came up at the meeting.
Okay, so I want to know the position. Are you waiting for a copy of the ruling before you take a decision, or are you waiting to meet your members before you make a decision on whether to call off the strike or not?
It's important to also communicate the issues that came up at the meeting to our local members because they are aware we are coming to meet the National Labour Commission. And so that issue must be discussed at NEC for us to communicate to them. And so that is the essence of the NEC meeting just after this place. The issue about whether we are calling off the strike or not, that would be as when we get access to the ruling of the commission.
But the Executive Secretary of the National Labour Commission, Ofusua Samwa, says the groups will have to comply with the directive or seek legal redress if they have any issues. He says both institutions are happy with the ruling.
You don't decide. There's nothing like final decision. When the commission gives a directive, right, you don't go and decide on it. You either comply or defy, right? If you want to challenge our decision, you go to the Court of Appeal. If you want to set it aside, you go to the High Court. So there is nothing like decision. What are they going to decide on, whether to comply or not? And if you fail to comply, it comes with its own, repercussions. You understand? But one interesting thing about it is that, when it comes to this data, TUTAG will be paid based on the submission of the data, right? TUSAG is supposed to prepare the data. And TUSAG was on strike, so the data cannot be submitted. So neither TUTAG or TUSAG could be paid. Interesting thing about the Tamale and Sunyani is that submit the data and let's pay you. You haven't submitted the data, and then you are on strike. So what are you on strike for? Tell me. If you submit the data and you have not been paid, that's another matter. Submit the data. When after the commission had given its ruling and the directive, the chairman of TUSAG said, he used the word, I am very happy with this and we are going to comply immediately. Actually, we blame all of them. All of them are some. When the government when the commission gave the directive, and then the universities had not complied, the government session, right, should also have sent reminders to them, prompted them that because you are not doing this, this is going to happen. Or they should have come to the commission that yes, you gave a directive and the people have not complied. And if they don't, we will not be able to pay them, right? The government failed to do so. These people failed to do the submission, and then the government side also failed to inform the commission. Well, if they had informed the commission will also prompt them, invite them. So all of them, at least all the parties admitted that there was a gap somewhere.
Despite challenges with the mass registration of Ghanaians for the Ghana card, President Akufo-Addo has assured the March 2020 deadline will be respected. The National Identification Authority is hoping to, however, continue with the regional and district registration exercises even after the deadline. The Ghana card is expected to be one of the major national ID cards in the country. And over the past few months, the National Identification Authority has been pitching camp in different parts of the country, capturing the biometric details of ordinary Ghanaians. But there are concerns that many others were yet to get the card, although their details so far have been captured. Now today, the President spent some time at the Intelligent Card Production System, the company undertaking the printing of the Ghana card. And according to him, over 6 million people have so far been registered.
In concluding, let me remind ICPS and all stakeholders in the national identification exercise to continue to ensure the integrity, security, and confidentiality of data, identity data collected. It is essential that the data collected be made available only to persons or institutions authorized by law to access the data and used only for the purposes for which the data was collected. Additionally, the March deadline for the completion of the registration exercise has to be respected. The benefits of having the Ghana card do not only include the establishment and proof of one's identity or citizenship, but they also aid cardholders in the transaction of a wide range of financial, banking, and insurance activities.
Per the current arrangement, The National Identification Authority hopes to end the mass registration in March this year, but will, however, continue the exercise on limited basis in some regions and districts. President Akufo-Addo says the deadline will be respected.
After years of willful neglect and stagnation, it is gratifying that the project to roll out a national identity card is off the ground. And as at Wednesday, 8th January 2020, some 6.5 million Ghanaians have been registered since the mass registration exercise commenced on 29th of April 2019, with 3.7 million cards issued, as against the issuance of 900,000 cards in the entire 8 years of the Mills Mahama era.
Chief Executive Officer of Margins Ghana, Moses Baden, says security features on the card will make it impossible to duplicate.
Institutions, whether private or public, in order to clean them up, so that for once we have a clean database that takes away the phenomenon of ghost names and fraud and, high interest rate because of banks cannot identify people, and also people having multiple IDs that you use to collect, fraud, terrorism, and so on and so on. So by putting this in every Ghanaian's pocket, Mr. President, you have helped eliminate the duplication of data in the system. And this is available to be used whether on a database level, online basis, on a one-to-one. So I just wanted you to see everything that you've been through now ends with the Ghana card, where NIA is in the field registering and putting biometric data and alphanumeric data on the card, whilst going through an interview process where people have to sign an oath if they don't have the rudimentary documents, so that if they lie in that regard, then there's a criminal and legal process that is justified. And we hope that this Ghana card project will end properly. As a company, we are very interested in being the first prime contractor in Ghana to have done something like that under your president.
Now let's focus on some mainstream governance issues. And the Minister for Railways Development, Joe Garte, has been adjudged Best Performing Minister for 2019 by a Ghanaian research and investigative firm, Fax Investigative Services. The ranking also places Deputy Education Minister Dr. Yao Osei Educhum as the Best Performing Deputy Minister of the Year under review, also placing Adaklo Constituency MP Kwame Agboja as the Best Performing Member of Parliament. Now we take a closer look at the rankings as the investigative body brought out, and it's indicating that the ranking was between some 65 and 100%. Some of the project initiatives that dominated and also informed the body's decision included the disbursement of some 6 million to 700 young entrepreneurs. Also, the disbursement of funds to disabled persons, campus speech, community business initiatives across the 16 regions. It also continues that some of the basic criteria were also funds for business ideas in all universities across the country under the Ministry of Business Development, transformation in the railway sector under the Ministry of Railways Development, and the production of local rice and its consumption campaign as part of the Planting for Food and Jobs under the Ministry of Food and Agriculture. Among many other related criteria, also included the free SHS system under the Ministry of Education, the development in the industry sector, the particular mention of a confit juice factory under the Ministry of Trade and Industry, the creation and inauguration of the 6 regions under the Ministry of Regional Reorganization and Development, and the development that has taken place in Zongo communities. Some other benchmarks include development in the transport sector, especially terminals for the Metro Mass Transit Company, and reviving the Ayalolo operations, DVLA transformation under the Ministry of Transport, transformation at Ghana Gas, transformation at Ghana Publishing Company, and many other project initiatives. And so it adjudged Best best performing minister as being the Minister for Railways Development, Joe Gatti. Respondents that were captured were some 4,638. He scored a mark of some 92.34%. It follows with Dr. Yao Osei Educhum being adjudged the best deputy minister with some 90% of the marks from responses from some 4,522 respondents. In the regional minister category, the central regional minister was adjudged the best regional minister. He scored a mark of some 96.7% from responses from some 4,800 respondents. In the MP category, the best performing MP was given to Kwame Governs Agbuja, Member of Parliament for the Adaklu constituency in the Volta region. Moving on, government has announced that it will, in the coming days, embark on a rigorous demolition of unauthorized structures across the country. Now, the move, which will also be executed by Anyok Holdings, a private entity, according to the Minister of Lands and Natural Resources, is to safely guard government lands from land guards and other encroachers. Mr. Asumachreme, who was addressing a press conference at the ministry, also warned that government will go all out to reclaim its land that so far have been encroached on, especially those including the contentious UPSA lands, a matter that is currently before the national security.
Unfortunately, whilst these discussions are ongoing, some members of the communities have illegally arrogated unto themselves the right to take over and develop these lands without any authorization. This unfortunate situation has caused the ministry to demolish unauthorized structures within the area in the recent past. The ministry is once again, ladies and gentlemen, warning all such persons to desist from this practice. Failure to do so will result not only in demolition of structures, but also prosecution of offenders. The general public is hereby strongly advised that before they enter into any land transaction, they seek expert advice and conduct the requisite official search from the Lands Commission so as not to incur any avoidable loss. UPSA has been alleged that it acquired the land from a group. The statement they volunteered to the police clearly indicates that they might have acquired it. Operative word might. They might have acquired it from a group. And that particular group is not clothed with capacity to have dealt with state land. It is only the Lands Commission that is clothed with capacity to have dealt with. UPSA contends that it is government university, and therefore it can acquire that particular land, whether fair or foul. The regulator of all state land is the Lands Commission. The regulator does not know UPSA to have acquired that land.
On health, one major symptom associated with cervical cancer is heavy, unusual bleeding, even among women who are menopausal. Many of such women, however, take this for granted. In our latest documentary by award winner Seth Kwame Boateng, he shares the story of a 70-year-old woman who has been bleeding and emitting offensive discharge continuously for the past 2 years, a clear case of the disease reaching an advanced stage.
A picture of the service. Among the many cervical cancer patients I interacted with, one theme ran through. All of them assumed the unusual bleeding was a menopausal sign. Even those who had long passed that stage still felt same. This 70-year-old woman, Abne Friye, is one of them.
I was told even after menopause, At times, you could still bleed. I attended a funeral in my village, and there I saw blood. Because it came with no pain, I assumed it was normal. The bleeding could continue for 4 days and stop, and would start again in 6 months.
After some time, the bleeding resumed and it continued for over a year. And just when she thought that era was almost over, a different, extremely worrying chapter opened.
Hey, where is this sickness coming from? I'm exhausted. When the bleeding was gradually stopping after a year, I suddenly started experiencing this offensive discharge. It is very offensive, and I simply don't know what is it. For 2 years now, that discharge has not stopped. Now, I walk with pampers in my bag. I change myself 3 times before daybreak. During the day too, I change myself 3 times before I go to bed. This huge pack finishes in less than 2 weeks. I've been here at the Konfanochi Teaching Hospital a number of times, yet the flow has not stopped.
What an uncomfortable and dehumanizing situation this old woman finds herself. Her quality of life is fast worsening, yet often patients like her and many others are not assisted early enough to live a dignified life. That's according to Dr. Edwina Opariloko.
Most people think palliative care means end-of-life care. So there's always a delay in referral. So we tend to see our patients when my colleagues have reached their wit's end. So it's like, okay, and at this point in time, there's nothing more we can do curatively for the patient. We have done everything, so now it's symptomatic care. That's not the ideal thing. We should be working hand in hand, so we can have some of these difficult conversations early. Because we want to look at what is the patient's ultimate goal of care when it comes to this illness.
I simply don't know what might have triggered it because I don't engage in all the risk factors. Before I married, I had seen only one man in my life. I had 6 children with my husband, but married again when he died. My current husband abandoned me when the cancer started. If you were in his shoes, would you have stayed? Would you agree to stay with me, knowing very well you cannot have sex with me? It's been 5 years now since he left me. He has gone to marry again. My children told me not to worry. For 5 years now, I've not had sex.
And this will be premiered next week, Monday, the next Monday, 13th of January, 2020. But the man himself is right here in the studio to give us some more information on the documentary. Seth, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Roland.
Basically, this was a problem. You identified it. How did you do that?
I got calls from doctors that this an issue nobody's talking about. We have in the past placed much premium on breast cancer, and we've relegated this to the background. So I decided to go into it. It's taken me over a year to do this job.
Just to compile this?
Yeah, because,
production.
Because it's not easy getting patients to speak to because of the stigma associated with it, and they are uncomfortable. I remember one woman I needed to interview for close to 2 months. I never got, she always promised, but disappointed me, so I had to find a different person. So it's an issue nobody's talking about, and because of the stigma that comes with it. This woman, for example, when she comes here, nobody can sit here because of the smell. The odor. Yeah, from it.
It's just overwhelming.
It's overwhelming
because of the discharge?
Yeah, and she has reached an advanced stage. So now all they can do is chemotherapy to soothe the pain, because it could be excruciating, the pain that comes with it. So they can only give painkillers and other things to make her better. But curing her at this time, at this stage, is difficult.
Why do they report the cases late?
Because this woman, for example, is 70 years, and when she saw the bleeding, you know, it comes with bleeding, heavy bleeding. She thought it was a menopausal sign, even though she had long past that stage. So they take some of these things for granted, and some of them would associate this with spiritual things. So again, this woman, in her state now, she still doesn't believe it's cancer, because cancer cannot be this painful. Cancer cannot cause her this harm. So there's somebody behind this trying to disgrace her, from what she told me. So they present late because one, they have no knowledge about the disease, and also the spiritual things they associate with cervical cancer.
You know, we're talking about women who are in old age.
Yeah.
So the supposition is that if you're young, it means that nothing happens or could happen to you.
No, that's not the case. You know, with people who have the symptoms showing now, it means they got the disease 20 to 30 years back. So, for example, if you are 20 years and it's sexually transmitted. So if you are 20 years and you slept with a man, okay, who had picked the disease from another woman, and the man had given it to you, if you are 20 years, you will never know. Until you do the screening, there will not be any sign until after 20 to 30 years, when the symptoms start coming up. And because you didn't do any screening to know where the stage you are, probably by the time you realize you have reached the advanced stage, stage 3, stage 4, and you will die.
So it means that women, especially young women, have to start doing the screenings early?
Yes, because in this documentary, there is a 45-year-old woman I interviewed. Her condition is also worse. And so it tells you when she acquired the disease, 20 to 30 years back. She was very young. That is why we, as a team here, Multimedia, we are calling on people, on the youth, especially the young women, to do the screening and take the vaccination shot, because this is curable. It's treatable when
it's preventive.
And it's preventive, yeah, if detected early.
Is it expensive? I mean, doing the screening and going through those processes?
Well, depends on where you're coming from. If somebody who doesn't have a job to do is to part about 200 cities or so, it's a problem. Okay. So if you have a good job, this is nothing. But the screening is very important.
It's always important.
Yeah,
it could be done across all the
across. Yeah, you go to any family planning unit or reproductive health unit in the hospital, they can do that for you.
And this is airing
Monday. So it will be on the Spur Morning Show Monday, 8 a.m. on Joy FM. Then the evening we have it here on Joynews.
The TV version.
Yeah.
Well, Seth, good work you're doing.
Thank you.
Yeah, I know this one is it's a piece for another award. But ultimately, talking about awards, many personnel of the multimedia group, they have gotten many. And if you have a roof over your head, food to feed, and a decent job, your peace of mind is mostly guaranteed. Now, for over 700 staff of the multimedia group, this reality is one they are grateful for. And one man has made it all possible, and that's Chief Executive Kwesi Chum. Now, at the annual Prayer, Thanksgiving and Praise Fest 2020, and this is just to kickstart a series of activities to mark the 25th anniversary of the media group, Mr. Chum himself charged the staff to be thankful for the experiences of the past decades, which so far have made the company a broadcast leader in Ghana. Komala Adom has more in this beautiful story.
Victory Bible Church, where the annual Thanksgiving service for the multimedia group is happening, and over here, you know, nearly all the multimedia staff are here in their numbers, sporting their white tops. It's a very emotional moment for me. And in the praises section, you can see excitement. You know, everybody is excited, first of all, for the gift of life, and then for multimedia turning 25 years. Gospel minister Uncle Ato took us to the throne of grace, or rather, brought heavens down. With the expressions and emotions of the songs that were ministered here, the gratitude of the company was immense. With several businesses collapsing, individuals losing their jobs, and many more hardships being faced by several Ghanaians in the country, Chief Executive Officer of the multimedia group, Kwesi Twum, charged the staff of the company to be grateful to have been relevant and staying on top for 25 years.
Scripture says, unless the Lord builds the house, they labor in vain. Unless the Lord builds the house, they labor in vain. Indeed, we feel blessed that our labor has not been in vain. 25 years of media excellence, 25 years of joyful experiences. This is nothing but the doing of the Lord. And I want to believe that it is marvelous in our eyes. So we're going to demonstrate that it's marvelous in our eyes. The word of God concerning our lives has never failed. God has made us a wonder. When people look at us and say, this is a proof, this is evidence, living evidence of God's goodness. When someone says, this God, I don't know is good, say, look at me.
From the cities to the villages, from the towns to the regions, everyone has a joy story. For presiding bishop of the Victory Bible Church International, Bishop Taki Yaboy, his joy story started several years ago when he began preaching on the radio station Joy 99.7 FM.
About 24 years ago, and a woman heard me preach, and she said, she called. And she said she wants our church to be planted over there. And that is how come for almost 23 years, Victory Bible Church has been in Holland and Belgium. It is because of Joy FM. So if for nothing at all, I'm grateful to God for Joy FM. And this great multimedia.
Meanwhile, some alumni of the company have been sharing their goodwill messages with the team here. CEO of the Telecoms Chamber, Ken Ashigbi, founder of Young Educators Foundation, Eugenia Techimenson, the CEO of Kairos Ghana Limited, Kingsley Wood, and Clemencia Tete all have messages.
Multimedia and Joy FM, for that matter, has been very revolutionary in the way radio has been, and the way radio has developed, and the way media has developed. And multimedia has really contributed to the development of this country in all facets, from ensuring that our democracy has been sustainable, producing great quality of human resource for not only their media organization but other media organizations, giving opportunities for Ghanaians, building brands. No brands that's in Ghana that would not be touched by multimedia. No brand in Ghana will become a brand if multimedia does not touch it. So the contributions of multimedia have really been very phenomenal, and 25 years have been quick in coming, and we pray that the next 25 years would even be better. We would be able to conquer a lot more territories and be able to be the African voice that really would tell the African story and achieve the vision that the forefathers of this brand. And we thank the likes of Kwesi Chum and all of them who have really ensured that Multimedia Joy FM is what it is now. Congratulations on this Silver Jubilee anniversary.
Congratulations, I think, would be in order, and good job. 25 years is no mean feat in life, bottom line, and then in business, in Ghana. It can't be easy, and so congratulations for staying the course, and hopefully that we can continue. In another 25 years, there will still be reason to celebrate.
And what would be your fondest memory of your time with the multimedia group that you want to share with us?
Too many to count. But I'll say the two things that stood out when we started was the passion that we all seem to have. We literally lived in Joy FM. And then two was the camaraderie. We were family. We were just one family. We did things like family. And I think that was what was able to help establish the foundation of the brand as people have come to know it. So in terms of memories, as I say, there are so many that we can't count. But the walk away would be the camaraderie and the passion that we shared.
I want to say congratulations and a big thank you to Kwesi Chum. I remember when I worked at Joy many years ago and it was called Multimedia. I used to wonder why it was multimedia when we had only Joy. So I'm very happy to see that it really is a multimedia with all these various stations, online TV. So I wish the group the best on this anniversary, and I know there's still more that is going to come out of multimedia. And I wish you a fun year of celebrations. And I know that multimedia is there to make an impact. And I'm looking forward to how the multimedia group will help change Ghanaians for the better.
They should continue encouraging the youth, continue employing the young and upcoming youth, and also try to keep the objectivity. Should not be influenced by any power or any force within the system.
During your time with the brand, what's the fondest you can remember, and how should it inspire us?
As one of the pioneers, we were that few, and we shared a Friday evening blind date. After Rami's program, we would all wait and see those who would not be hooked. We were all not attached, so we made friends, and we had that unity, and that has brought all of us back here. We say a big thank you to Kwesi Chum for the vision and for the blessings of God.
Well, remember, today's event is just the beginning. It's solely for the whole year, so we still have some 11 months to go. But still to come in business, as more local companies complain about the influx of cheap imported product, we assess the impact of unfair trade practices on Ghana's mainstream economy.
Lower than our price, which means that any businessman who, as I showed you, he's getting our price, why would he buy from us? And they're killing us. Yeah. So we have to complain.
Hello, good evening. I am Sandra Essenam Appian. I'm here for business. State-owned aluminium melting company Aloex says it is at the verge of collapse following the influx of cheap imported aluminium products. After several petitions to the International Trade Commission to place counter tariffs on cheap imports, the Commission has begun hearing Aluwex's case against some Chinese companies. At a meeting yesterday, January 9, things got a little heated up while some wild allegations were made. Let's hear from the Managing Director of Aluwex, Kwesi Oko, who spoke to Joy Business.
Far, far, far lower than our price, which means that any businessman who, as I showed you, he's getting our price, why would he buy from us? And they're killing us. Yeah. So we have to complain.
But some think you are not competitive enough.
How do you be competitive if somebody is selling below you and you can't sell? If you produce and it's sitting there, nobody's buying it, are you competitive or not? The price they are selling at is below us. What is competition again? They are below us.
But beyond that, there are challenges to the company, like Dr. Asaria J indicated.
Don't mind Dr. Asaria J. He's a bit confused. He used to work for me. He was a factory hand or something. He has no idea what he's talking about. A factory runs on turnover and cash flow. Yes? So you get metal or whatever it is you're going to do, you produce, you sell, you get money, you do the cycle again. You understand? If you do it and the money doesn't come, what do? It's the Asaria J trying to influence the JITC because he is an importer. He's using the rebate he's getting from China to destabilize Togo and Benin. He's making a lot of money. My customers in Benin tell me, oh, Asatec has come and sold me at this price. My customer in Togo says, oh, Asatec has been here. He sold me at this price. That impossible price. So I know if JITC gives a ruling, it will spoil that business. That's the motivation. That's the motivation. And I wasn't going to say anything, but because he went on to town, I decided to expose him.
So this issue as it stands is not only isolated to Aluwex, but a number of other industries such as the textiles industry, cement, and even biscuit manufacturers have complained of unfair trade practices. How bad is the situation? What's the likely impact on the country's economy? Joining me on the phone lines for more on this development is trade expert Richard Ampabe. Thanks so much for joining me, sir. If you can hear me, this is not the first time we are hearing complaints like this. It's been happening, and a typical example is what is happening in the retail market. And so the trade laws are clear, the WTO laws are also clear on issues like this. Why are we seeing consistent disregard for the trade laws?
Thank you very much, and good evening to your cherished listeners. As you rightly stated, this is not the first time that we are encountering this problem. And trade everywhere is complex. And therefore, if any nation states want to engage in international trade, you need to have your instruments and your regulations right. Talking about the Aluwex problem, even though my biases is with Aluwex, we have to digest the whole problem and get the root cause. One, what is the benchmark value that the products coming from elsewhere costs? Two, which standard we take them through? Because I know Standards Authority is there to check on the standards that of goods that we import into this country. So I find it a bit strange. And if Aluwex is complaining, it isn't that you complain and you leave it like that. No. You complain with your empirical evidence to prove to everybody that, one, the company which is bringing alu products in Ghana is engaged in what we call dumping. And
right.
If it is dumping, then it infringes on ILO, WTO rules and regulations.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so admittedly, you understand, underpricing is clearly an issue of unfair practice in business. However, we can also overlook the fact that other countries like China produce on larger quantities. And so my question is, what makes Ghana's case a different one, and how do we compete fairly, knowing that we import almost everything?
All cases of underpricing are also issues of criminality. And why do we want to bring in nation state China? China at this point doesn't come in. It is that company or the importer who I think we need to deal with, and not China as a state. I hope you are getting my point.
Right.
Yeah, because for instance, if let's say cocoa product sends its chocolate to another country, and there is an unfair trade practice on the part of cocoa products, do you put the blame on Ghana state? No. You deal with cocoa products. I'm only citing cocoa products because I know it's a state and
okay.
Exactly. Even there, you cannot blame nation Ghana. So my point here is that let us delve into the matter and get the real problem which these companies are making out to us. For instance, the textile industry, the same thing they do to us. Parity, doing all manner of things, but we don't get them spot on. So
right. Quite an interesting comment you're making there. This issue has been lingering for some time, and we've spoken about this several times, but how is this likely to impact the country's economy, and what is the best way forward, in your opinion?
The whole thing is bad. And you see, it has forward and backward linkages. Because if you are talking about aluminium, presently, you are talking about a whole forward linkage of jobs, a whole backward linkage of jobs. So are we sitting down to collapse our aluminium industry? If you take cocoa industry, you take the mine, the next is aluminium.
I'm so sorry we have to leave it here for lack of time, but I'll be back after 8 p.m. with more business news. I am Sandra Esinamapenu. Do stay tuned.
You've been with us on Joynews Prime, and in this bulletin, we had government announcing plans to embark on a rigorous demolition of unauthorized structures across the country. The move, Lands Minister says, is to safeguard government lands. Technical University Teachers Association of Ghana also describes National Labour Commission ruling directing them to call off indefinite strike immediately as unfortunate, as it serves notice it's unable to comply with the ruling now. Despite challenges with the registration of Ghanaians for the Ghana card, the President, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, says the mass registration exercise will end in March with over 6 million people captured so far. Oh, it's more good news because the multimedia group kickstarts a year-long activities with a lot to be excited about to mark 25 years of excellent broadcasting with mega prayer and Thanksgiving feast. That'll be it for those watching us on Joy Prime, but we have more news right here on the channel Joy News. Stay with us. And straight away, let's head to the court, where state attorneys prosecuting ACP Dr. Benjamin Agojo for his alleged involvement in the coup plot today appealed for more time to study additional documents filed by his lawyers at an Accra High Court. The latest move is in a bid to secure bail for Dr. Benjamin Agojo. Joynews' Henry Kwesibedu sat through the proceedings in court today and brings you his report.
The senior police officer who has been in police custody after 2 bail applications were denied in November 2019 by an Accra High Court has been accused of being involved in a plot to topple the government. The court feared ACP Agojo could use his position and influence to interfere with investigations if he's released on bail. But his lawyers, led by Martin Pebu on Friday, filed a 24-paragraph supplementary affidavit to support their earlier bail application. Senior State Attorney Hilda Craig told the court she was handicapped and needed more time to study the document, which she claims was filed on short notice. She adds that as a result, she could not immediately respond to the allegations orally. ACP Agojo, who is facing a treason charge, is alleged to have assisted the leader of the alleged coup plotters, Dr. Frederick Yao Mark Palm, and some 8 other suspects, including some military officers, in a plot to overthrow the Akufo-Addo administration. The Accra High Court, presided over by Justice Charles Ekobaden, adjourned the case to January 16, 2020 to consider the document. Henry Kwesi Bedu's report for Joynews.
The Managing Director of the State Interest and Governance Authority, Stephen Asamoah Boateng, has promised to turn around the fortunes of indebted state enterprises to profit-making entities by raking in some 1.2 billion Ghana cedis by the close of this year. Well, he also warned CEOs of state-owned entities who misconduct themselves in office, they will either be sacked or prosecuted to serve as deterrent to others. This, he says, will be realized with vigorous monitoring. Mr. Stephen Asamoah Boateng, who has been speaking with my colleague Latif Idris, says the signing of the performance contract with the CEOs, which came off on Wednesday, will now make it easier to hold these CEOs more accountable.
Go along and we monitor. You can also veer from the target. Depends on how your performance is coming along. We can easily know that, look, you cannot hit it because your first quarter didn't bring in anything. So really, if you project the second quarter, forget about your 40% you said. It will be probably about 25%. So that's why the monitoring and evaluation is key. And so if you don't hit it, and we notice that it is out of maybe boardroom wrangling, it's because you haven't hired the right personnel to do the job, or you have not trained them properly. Then you yourself has not committed resources to achieve the target. That's when your punitive actions come in.
And what is it?
Well, it ranges from all sorts of things. Some of them, if it's not a very major deviation or missing of the targets, it's maybe bonuses that they normally will give themselves. We refuse to approve it because we have to approve before the management and the board would give bonuses. If it goes to a point where the management is not really up to the task and we think they are failing, we recommend to the appointing authority to look at the removal of such management team or even the board resolution or reconstitution. It even goes to some extent if it comes through that something has been done which shouldn't have been done. Maybe you committed the organization to some expenditure levels that you didn't seek clarification with finance or SIGA, and we find out you might be in trouble, and trouble may end up in court. If you go criminal, then there's nothing I can do. We would make sure you go there. But sometimes just you could see that they did and make genuine mistake, but then it means that their competencies are questionable. Then it's a question of removal rather than a prosecution. Are you with me? So it depends on what they do and the sanctions you apply. There are benefits, but there are sanctions. And I'm happy with the caliber of people I've seen. Otherwise, I couldn't have even projected the 1.2 billion. I wouldn't even attempt it, or I wouldn't even put it on record.
It took over in 2017. And in 2017 alone, I mean, State Enterprise recorded 1.29 billion cedis loss. Not to talk about what happened in 2016.
Go back
and yeah, what kind of magic are you going to put in place to change the dynamics?
Well, it's not magic. It's human beings you have to work with and respect them and let them work as they themselves have committed themselves to do, and let them be disciplined and let them understand that they cannot do what they like. It's state funds. It's people's money. It's management of resources that doesn't belong to you alone. Once they get that impression, they get that into their mind, then they know there's an accountability. You cannot be on your own. And that is why you needed an authority like the State Interest and Governance Authority with the powers that has been given to by the law or by Parliament. And then everybody will set up. We have projected about 1.2 billion which never came. I mean, you remember, they post losses. Nobody brought anything. Rather, they come for government to bail them out. Right now, we are looking at this amount. Hopefully, I should be keeping an eye and getting them to deliver. I'm not walking, I'm running. We have to run with speed to turn around the fortunes of our state institutions. That is the only way Ghana beyond aid can be reached. Because otherwise, where are you going to get the money from? Your own institutions are not performing. How are you going to get the economy to move? And you go, so that is the onerous responsibility SIGA has got. And we will build a professional team here who would go out there and command respect and command some what do I say, a little authority that if you don't perform, the stake is always there for you. But we would encourage them.
Availability and accessibility of water make up farming easy. Now, farmers in the northern part of the country are struggling to make ends meet, and this is due to constant drought. Mahmoud Mohamed Nuruddin found this report from Mongri. And a report, sun winners are cashing in and vegetable farmers are also feeling the pinch of the current harmattan.
Everything has now disappeared into dryness, leaving only pools of water created by vegetable farmers at the section of the river. Travelers no longer get stranded, but the fish and waterfowls are gone. Fishermen who depend on it are moving elsewhere to escape the pinch of the drought. Many of the people who have depended on the white volta for centuries are either looking for options or resting in their homes. The once large expanse of water, the size of an averagely populated town, is gone. Water, they say, is life, but this is the absence of it.
A few months ago, I was here, and this place was full of water. The length and the breadth of this particular river was completely occupied with some amount of water. Today I am here again, and it has dried up, and sun winners are making money out of it.
Sun winners are cashing in, each making some cedis daily, while women dry their clothes in the scorching sun. Adam Yakubu and four others win pile of sand at the bottom of the river for livelihood.
Every day we could supply about 5 or 10 times of the tipper truck. Sometimes we could do about 4 or even 3, but for now we have made only 3. We are hoping to do more.
All they need is shovel and few other tools to collect the sand onto tipper truck for construction purposes.
Mohamed Seydou.
My name is Mohamed Seydou. We are school dropouts. That's why we are here to work to feed the family. We cannot sit idle and look on. We need to work hard to be able to feed our wives and children.
Vegetable farmers are, however, at the receiving end. They cannot cultivate their crops or risk losing them to the harsh weather. For weeks, the farmers have had to devise various means of finding water to keep their crops green. Farmers risk losing their livelihood, as vegetable farming is a major source of income for residents here and surrounding communities. Idrisu Abdulaziz is one of the farmers here.
We always suffer. We always go inside the river and dig a hole, a small hole, to water our garden. So we do suffer. So we need a help. So if you can help us, it's good.
Yeah. Pumping the water to our farms, it's very costly, especially when it comes to the fuel. The fuel, we can use 100 Ghana cedi to water. It's not even up to a hectare. And at times it will exceed 100 Ghana cedi.
Right now, as you can see, so if you are to dig the hole, we have to go and look for people. So at least you get about 5 people. The 5 people, it will cost you a lot of money. Yeah, so that's what, almost about 200 Ghana cedis. So in buying the fuel too, all those things we used to do to water the crops.
Many of the locals have depended entirely on their activity to cater for their families. Severe harmattan and other unfavorable external factors leave farmers with no choice but to attend to their crops every morning to ensure they survive. The White Volta is the only source of water for them during the dry season. Regrettably, the water has dried up, giving them no hope of survival. Concerns have been raised about how the world can effectively conserve, manage and distribute water to prevent crisis. Shortage will have a particularly devastating effect on rural poor people in Mognori, who depend on unsustainable sources and even much of their income from water-dependent agriculture.
And it's time now for our editorial on the missing 400 tricycles from the Northern Development Authority's office.
A happy new year to all of you, and I imagine that somewhere in the northern region, some people are extremely happy, having satisfied themselves after looting 400 tricycles from the Northern Development Authority's office. Yes, you heard me right, 400 tricycles worth an estimated 2 million Ghana cedis mysteriously vanished from the premises of the authority on October 27 last year. And almost 3 months on, the tricycles still can't be traced. Now, you might wonder why we're bringing up this issue when it first came up 3 months ago. That's because it doesn't appear there is any accountability for this daylight robbery. These bicycles, or tricycles, mind you, were procured during the previous administration and were to be under the supervision of the regional ministers, and will come to the supposed actions being taken to apprehend the culprits. But already what we know is that when the incident occurred in October, the NDA boss, Dr. Abdul Majid Harun, wrote to the Northern Regional Minister, Salifu Said, formally complaining to the minister about how the tricycles were taken away without his permission. That is on record. In the letter, he states categorically the tricycles were taken away by a youth group in Tamale. So there's no question about the identity of the people behind this theft. But in November last year, we're told Dr. Majid Harun wrote to the Northern Regional Police providing details about this incident. That is also on record. So what did the police do with this information? Well, we are told they launched an investigation into the matter. At the time, the police said they were on a hunt for some national security officials and a deputy chief executive officer of the authority in connection with the incident. That was 2 months ago. To date, they are yet to make any arrest.
So police started investigations into that matter, and a letter was sent to invite the chief executive officer to assist in investigation. He gave us statement that was on the 12th of December. And after the statement, we wrote to him based on the statement that he gave us, inviting certain people to be released from the authority to come and assist with police investigation. Okay. That letter was sent on the was sent on the 12th, and it was on the same 12th that his appointment was terminated. Luckily for us, we have contacted the new chief executive officer who has promised to release those people to assist with the investigations from 10th. Because as of now, most of them are still on holiday.
In December last year, President Akufo-Addo revoked Dr. Abdul Majid Harun's appointment in a letter signed by the secretary to the president with no reasons offered. But of course, it won't be out of place to link his dismissal to the missing vehicles. But many questions remain unanswered, and it appears there is a subtle attempt to sweep this matter under the rug. The minority insists this act was carried out by MPP-affiliated militia group.
Information from sources within Tamale is that they've been allocated to some groups that were supposed to even be disbanded. You know, these paramilitia groups that are parading within the Tamale metropolis, especially, and harassing people left, right, and center simply because their party is in government. we were told that all of these militia groups would be disbanded. You know, as we speak, they haven't done the disbandment. As we speak, they are using tricycles that are bought for by the state, paid for by the state, you know, and simply handing over to party foot soldiers. And I simply think that, you know, serious heads would have to roll. The minister in charge would have to give the nation a full account of exactly what has happened and where we are and why this had happened.
The tricycles were on the premises of the authority. So we have contacted the chief executive officer. He had mentioned some people who we think needed to assist us with investigations. We have invited them, and come 10th, those persons will be released to assist us with investigations. So just be patient. If somebody is mentioned and it is direct that the person might know something about the missing bike, surely we will let the public know and also go after that person or group of persons.
It's clear these young men, if the minority is to be believed, would not have carried out this act without the express direction of their leadership. Who were those who gave the instructions for the tricycles to be taken? Were there no security men at the store that housed the tricycles? How could 400 tricycles inconspicuously go missing? Are they being held accountable? I mean, how is it possible that 400 tricycles vanish into thin air and almost 3 months on, they cannot be traced and no one is being held liable? How long will it take the police to investigate this matter? Remember, this is 2 million cedis of the taxpayers' monies that is not being accounted for. Let's protect the public purse.
For we have great issues regularly to talk about right here on the channel, and make sure that you stay with us. Next we'll bring you PM Express. You will enjoy it, and subsequently we have regular programming on the channel, and stay with us always.